In the news now is an article that should really make you think about what our government has done to us, all of us, and all for nothing. How they've ruined your life and what will hold them accountable for what they've actually done. And I've covered a similar article before, but this one, in my opinion, is really well written. It gives proper perspective, and this is in the Biz News. So I will put a link in the description below the video as usual, so you can go and read this article yourself. But the headline for this article is 5 reasons people stop listening to COVID-19 modelers, PANDAs, Krieger and Hudson. So PANDA is an organization that's actually gone and challenged the various models that people came up with that our government listened to and then destroyed the country, basically. And I would like to go through this, and I want you to listen to the end. If you're not willing to listen to the end, you're a part of the problem. This is seriously important for you to understand that when this lockdown is, so to say, over, it's far from over, because your liberties have to be given up for you to get certain things outside of this lockdown. And this is the problem that's coming our way. And I will highlight those as they happen. And I will do a couple of videos on that still. I don't have enough time today, but tomorrow certainly I will put out videos on how the medical aid fraternity is going to force you to get these COVID IDs, COVID passes, or any kind of app that track and trace and monitor you. And I speak about this in my meetings. A lot of people have said that this is science fiction. It's not true. People, you need to not only wake up, but you need to become a human being and start thinking with your brain and not with how you've been brainwashed. So, flawed COVID-19 models have fed into government policy with devastating consequences for the economy. Since the beginning of the lockdown, PANDA, a group of actuaries, lawyers and economists, have been providing empirical data parallel to the information given by government appointed agencies on what the impact of COVID-19 is on the country. And I told you earlier in a video that you don't need to be a virologist or medical professional to read statistics and data. I'm very capable of doing that myself, and I'm glad that an organization such as PANDA exists. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever, but I support people that know what they're doing and speak common sense. PANDA has argued that the true cost of the lockdown, which is on level 2 and has lasted for over 6 months. Can you believe it now? When they said 3 weeks initially, hard lockdown for 3 weeks. Look at what's happened to us. 6 months was unnecessary and drastic in its implementation, affecting the livelihoods of millions and resulting in excess deaths. The founder of PANDA, Nick Hudson, has been vocal in sharing his evidence-based insight, and in this article makes a strong claim against the misrepresentation of information which was presented to government in COVID-19 models. Now, the first question you need to ask yourself, if our government just willy-nilly believes modelers coming from academics, they are idiots. They don't have the knowledge to challenge these models. And this is a problem. If I was there and I don't want to be a politician or be a public representative, I would be able to ask very simple questions that would have ripped their models to shreds. And we need people with sound background to be in government to challenge these academics that come up with this trash. Because what is going to happen now is that these people can never be trusted again. They should never be trusted again. And this means that we need to replace our entire government, not just the governance system, the people in government, the way we govern, and the way we elect our future leaders. PANDA has been inundated with requests for our model and with notes from members of the public thanking us for being, and I quote, the one accurate source of information, close quote. Why does the public not take epidemiological experts seriously anymore? Well, there's good reason for it. It is not that we are generally disrespectful of authority, nor is it that we have been brainwashed into believing that COVID-19 is not the disaster it was made out to be. We don't listen to these experts for the same reason we don't obey the bizarre lockdown regulations anymore. Epidemiological modelers have made themselves irrelevant by producing work that failed to align with reality, and they remain unrepentant in the face of overwhelming evidence of their failings. These people will never say, we stuffed up, we messed up, we got this wrong, we ruined your life. Let's put them in jail. Let's make them account. Let's take them to court and say, listen here, you said these things that government used to actually make decisions. You pushed your models on government. Or was it? No. Let's blame the government. They should have never believed us. Come out with it. Say it. I was wrong, Cyril. I shouldn't have told you that all these people were going to die. At least you can say that. Admit that you were wrong. They made themselves irrelevant by choosing to support the hand that feeds them and allowing their work to be used to justify violations of our constitutional rights through illegal lockdowns that destroy lives and livelihoods on a daily basis. Earlier this week, we learned that top American COVID-19 experts made a basic error. This is the crux, people. They made a basic error by confusing infection fatality rate, or IFR, with case fatality rate, CFR. Are they real experts if they make a mistake like this? Certainly not. People appointed by government are often the problems in society. This you will always find to be the case. If you're appointed by government, you should ask, why is this person not earning more money in the private sector? But this resulted in the overblown COVID-19 predictions that prompted crippling lockdowns across the United States. So infection fatality rate versus case fatality rate. This is not the first example of incompetence from the COVID-19 experts. Imperial College, who have a history of exaggerating disease outbreaks, produced a model that was described as totally unreliable and a buggy mess that looks more like a bowl of angel hair pasta than a finely tuned piece of programming. Close quote. Very well put. Although it is not even clear when they were using that model and when they weren't, they confidently predicted over 500,000 deaths for the UK. 42,000 actual deaths to date, well after the peak, and over 2 million deaths in the United States. This is what they predicted, with 195,000 actual deaths. The World Health Organization repeatedly blurred the distinction between IFR and CFR, and was publicly rebuked by Sweden and other nations for misrepresenting their data. The South African epidemiological modeling team also produced figures between 89,000 and 351,000 deaths, and a requirement for between 236,000 and 944,000 hospital beds. How useful were these predictions? Anyone who's ever hosted a dinner party knows that it's very difficult to plan accurately when you're being told that either 23 or 94 guests will be coming. It makes a big difference, doesn't it? Our experts seemingly chose to present the government only the worst numbers that could be reasonably justified. That proves that there was an agenda behind what they were doing. When presenting the 351,000 number to government, it seems they failed to mention that using World Health Organization assumptions on infection, their model also estimated 19,800 deaths and a requirement for 70,200 beds. We have yet to find someone who would have supported a 6-month lockdown. Nobody would have supported that initially. No one. If we were told in the beginning that we're going to be locked down for 6 months, do you think that government would have actually gotten the people to listen? No ways. Why do we allow ourselves to slowly be brutalized into something that none of us will agree with? Think about that for a moment. How did you allow that to happen? The loss of millions of jobs and loss of thousands of lives to suicide, depression and poverty And they known that the death toll would be about the same as a bad flu season and amount to around 4% of the total deaths for 2020. It means that 96% of other deaths came from things not related to COVID-19 or being tested positive for the SARS-CoV-2 virus. We know that the COVID-19 figures are greatly exaggerated, unlike what the chief editor for News 24 says. He's not a specialist, I can tell you now. He's an idiot. PANDA brought an application forcing the modelers to release the initial model, and when it was released, we were told that it was never intended as a tool for policy making, but only for situational awareness. So now, Stellenbosch University, who came up with this model, they're saying it was never intended to be a tool for policy. It was only intended for situational awareness. Well, maybe they should close down Stellenbosch if this is the rubbish that they're spewing out. Strange then that Stellenbosch University never saw fit to respond to press reports citing that model as the reason Cabinet was motivated to implement lockdown. Without pomp or ceremony, the modeling team internally withdrew the initial model and joined a consortium, SACMC, that produced the EPI model, forcing PANDA to make another application for the new model. The EPI model, produced by a consortium of universities under government's National Institutes for Communicable Diseases, predicted 10,000 deaths by the end of June. The actual figure was 2,657. That's if that can be trusted. They predicted 30,000 by the end of July. The actual figure was 7,812, if that can be believed, and 48,000 deaths by the end of September. They stand by that last figure, which would mean roughly 3,800 deaths a day for the rest of the month. We are currently on 118 deaths a day and descending. People, we have been taken for an absolute ride. For those of us whose livelihoods are impacted by market forces, those of us who get ignored or tired if we are incompetent, it seems crazy that government still takes these people seriously. What is going on here? This is what you need to understand. And if you come to my meetings, I will explain to you exactly what's happening behind the scenes. This is not rocket science, but here is an independent group outside of me, myself, and myself that is saying exactly what I've been saying all along. It's nice to actually get backup sometimes. Or do they? Are these models simply a convenient justification for the theft of emergency cash? It is important to understand the reasons for this situation so that it doesn't happen again. And then it goes through the reason 1, it goes through reason 2. The first one, the role of uncertainty in lockdown. The second one, reason 2, lack of qualifications. Reason 3, transparency in lockdown. Reason 4, a paradigm problem. Reason 5, protecting reputations. You know, when people's reputations are in trouble, they'll do anything to protect it, especially politicians. But academics aren't far behind. You can go and read the rest of this article. It's got a very, very awesome cartoon picture at the top. I believe it was by Shapiro. So you can go and have a look at that. And you can tell me how you feel about the fact that your livelihood is being destroyed by idiots that have no idea what they're doing. Their models were completely wrong. They knew the models were completely wrong. And what did they do? Withdrew, started another group with completely wrong models. The government continued with this nonsense. They didn't stop. We need to remove the people in government that are incompetent. We need to remove the governance system. We need to remove the electoral system, and we need to change the constitution so that we can put new electoral systems, or a new electoral system and a new governance system in place, which makes this entire party governance system a complete farce. That's what they are. Those people like the party leaders like Steenhuisen speaking out and said we need to return to level 1. You were the person standing behind Cyril Ramaphosa, supporting him initially. You are also the uneducated fool, together with all the other party leaders, and I include all of them that stood behind Cyril Ramaphosa. You ruined the country. You are all accomplices. You stood with him again after 3 weeks and he extended lockdown. You stood with him. You are accomplices. You are criminals. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you want more of my videos, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so that you can get notification for future videos. And I look forward to seeing the people at the meeting tonight in Durbanville. Thank you very much.